there is a wild growing people who are being pessimists, who are being victims.
Yeah.
And I think that especially in our generation. But I think we have to push against that because the world, like you said, is dependent on the hope of tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you hope for a better future, you can bring it to fruition.
Yeah.
But if you just say this despair and this everything's going to shit, then that's the world that you will bring to pass. I don't want to live in that world.
The thing is, we used to talk about this quite a lot back when we first met about how, you know, like it's easy to feel helpless and angry and like nothing is really going anyway, things like that, right? But it takes actual effort a lot of the time to feel any sense of positivity towards, like, I mean, really life in general these days. To the point where, like, you know, the positive people are almost ridiculed, hilariously so. But like, if you actually think about it, the people who have the ability to seriously, genuinely believe in a better tomorrow probably have a hell of a lot more going for them.
Absolutely, they're much happier.
Yeah.
And I think also, paradoxically, the people who hate on them, they hate on them as a shit test.
Yeah.
Like, they want to see if that happiness is real.
If it's a facade.
If it's a facade. Because they want to believe in it. But they don't know if they're making that jump.
But like, how sad is that?
Yeah, I know.
Like, man, I mean, I say that. And again, we were just talking about this. The whole hypocrisy of it all. But like, I'm a miserable bitch.
Sorry.
That's the irony of it all.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Jeffrey Sapon podcast. Hopefully this is the first one of the year because I think this is going to come out in the new year. So this will be the first one of 2024. So welcome to 2024 on the Jeffrey Sapon podcast. Today I have with me Kieran. Kieran, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Okay. More than okay?
I'm vibing.
You're vibing. I'm good too.
To all things in life, yeah, I'm chilling.
You're chilling.
Yeah, vibing with the universe and whatnot.
Gotta be the universe. How's today? How was today for you? What did we do today?
We went into London and we ate food, and then we came back to where I live.
Yeah. But what would
you define as, like, when you say, oh yeah, it's my house? Like,
I mean, it is. You live here.
I live here. Yeah. But it's not my house.
It's home. I guess.
It's home.
It's your home.
But where is home?
Home is where the heart is, mate.
Okay, I knew you were gonna say that.
Well, why did you ask the question?
Such a cliche.
You set me up for a cliche,
mate.
You can't set me up for a cliche. We went to the gallery too. You forgot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
We walked around and looked at a bunch of really old paintings.
Did you like any of them? What did you think about the gallery? Let's start there. Fuck it. Let's start there. What did you think about the National Gallery? The fact that we have access to free art hundreds of years ago, actually.
It's cool that it's free.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I think it tastes a bit weird, but...
What do you mean taste?
Anyway, Jeff. For the, like, all of one person that found that funny, I'm there for them.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
That's who I'm here for, Jeff.
Okay.
If there is that
Never
one
mind.
person.
I'm just not here. You're just talking to whoever you...
I just talk to myself, bro.
Fair enough. But I think it was some cool shit. We saw that painting that was like nearly 600 years old.
What, the one where the woman was like squeezing her titty milk
into them? That was wild as fuck, right?
Yeah.
Like a massive painting.
Yeah. Sorry,
and
I'm
a
very serious person. Yeah, but I don't remember who like painted that.
Yeah.
Personally. But it is a really nice painting. Like, considering that it's about
there we go.
You know, considering that it's supposed to be an image of like basically brokering peace between two different nations. Like, that's pretty cool. It's interesting how back then, I mean, they probably obviously signed something, presumably, as well, to make it like actually official. But to be like, hey, now that we're friends, have this cool fucking painting that I paid a guy to make. And they're like, but like, imagine being the guy who got it, like, without an explanation, just looking at it like, right.
That's what I was thinking. It must be so weird to be back then too, because like they must have thought way different from us.
Yeah.
Because if I saw a pinch, like they must have been just used to shit like that. Because I'd be like, what's going on? Why is there a massive painting of this naked lady just like this is not art. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it
Like
was.
squeezing milk
Yeah, just squeezing milk.
into a baby's mouth.
And they were like, this is an allegory for peace and war and like
yeah.
all these different stuff.
Yeah.
So that was super weird, yeah. But I enjoyed it. I like going to it was the National Gallery, right? It's a cool kind of place.
Yeah.
Like just to be surrounded by art.
What I see, here's my thing with art.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of art, not really my forte. Personally.
Okay, go on. Explain.
Like, I don't know. I don't really look at art for necessarily realism. You know, it's why I like. There's that Japanese painter that I'm fucking obsessed with.
Mm-hmm.
Ito Jakuchu. He or she, I don't know who, whatever, or anything in between, but yeah, their work was really, it's like a lot of their work was semi-realistic, of, you know, like animal depictions and things like that, but then they had other ones that were like frogs that look really angry for some fucking reason, and like things like that. There's like this one painting of like a frog wrestling a fish. Like, it's that lack of necessary realism that I'm kind of drawn to it for, because it's like, oh, a thing that I recognize, but like it's tweaked in such a way that it's like,
which makes it unique.
fun to imagine. Yeah, because it's like a different representation of the real existence that we all live, but it's like it's a representation from that person's mind, if that makes any sense. It's like writing a novel, like a fiction novel. Like there are people who can basically only imagine things in like, you know, the relatively grounded real space, you know, so-called slice of life, I guess, if you want to call it that. Not that there's anything wrong with that at all. Like, some of my favorite things are slice of life, or about like real life things, because at the end of the day, I am a human trapped in human society.
I wouldn't say trapped. I think you're thriving, mate.
Potato, but but like, well, no, I mean, we're all chimps trapped on an island in a zoo.
No, the zoo's trapped with us. Yeah. The zoo's stuck here with us.
You're in here with me.
With me. Yeah. The earth is in here with humans. Not the other way around.
Yeah, you're not looking at me. I'm looking at you.
Barky, here's a question. Here's a question based on that. Because I see those painters, and especially the realistic ones, and I know that it's like the author was trying to grasp at perfection. They were trying to like be as close to reality as possible. Yeah. The question I had for you, just to start this off, I know just one of the questions I have was, do you think, not just in art, but just in, I guess, life, and also just in art also, do you think it's possible to grasp perfection, to actually make something that achieves the concept of perfection?
No.
Why do you think we try? Or why do you think no, but why do you think we try?
Well, perfection is a completely subjective term. You know, to me, like, when I say, oh, you know, I just want inner peace, for example, and big old pile of cash.
Those are two contradictory statements, but okay, keep going.
Are they really?
I agree.
No, but you know what I mean. It's like that's the dichotomy that we also work with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where like, what I refer to as inner peace perhaps is just perfection. It's like what I perceive to be my perfect life, where for whatever reason in my head the perfect life is like, I just get to be this like fat old man in the woods, apparently, like playing a mandolin or some fucking nonsense, but just like really at peace. Like that's what I really care about. But the way that I've perceived is the answer to get there is by a whole lot of fucking stress. But at the same time, it's like, can you really create something that you are genuinely proud of if it doesn't come at not like a great personal cost? Of course not. But, you know, if you don't have to really, really fucking try. Like, have you really done anything? Like,
I agree, and I agree.
I mean, not that I'm one to make that argument at all, really. I mean, what the hell do I know? But,
no, I 100% agree, because I feel like, especially when you talk about chasing perfection and chasing success, there is a dichotomy of the fact that in order to chase something, you have to give up, like, especially when it comes to peace, inner peace and stuff like that. Every time I feel like I reach inner peace is when I lose it. Because it feels like when I grasp at it, when I feel like finally I'm here, I am one with the soul, I am one with the being, I am one with existence, I can just be as normal and as real as I am, instantly is gone, because the perception of the thing is what makes you lose the thing.
Yeah.
And it's like that idea that you always have to be not in control of it, especially for people like us who I'm like type A, like everything must happen how I want it to be. And like, it's even answering my question about perfection. That's what to me that is. Perfection is the most efficient production, which is like so crazy, right?
Yeah.
But like, to me, that's what it is. It's like, how can I produce the thing that is most efficiently, I guess, relatable to the biggest audience, or like as expressive of myself as possible. And then that to me is like, boom, like I've reached kind of beep beep. That to me is like, boom, I've reached kind of like the ultimate level. But the question I had for you, get comfy, get comfortable.
Yeah, I'm chilling.
Like, the question I had for you then, you talk about peace and you talk about reaching inner peace, then what does that mean to you nowadays?
I don't, like, how do you put a word on, like, I guess it would be what I think is like an unfettered existence, where, you know, it's kind of just like, it's like you're, you know, I mean, people throw this around so much, but really becoming, I guess, like one with existence as a whole, not just my existence, but like, you know, really finding true peace in the idea that, like, for example, you know, that I am just a creature that is alive as of this moment in existence, and that while there is no necessary rhyme or reason to it all, I can still find some semblance of, like, not reason to be, but a sense of oneness with everything, I guess, if you want to call it that.
What does that look like practically though? Like, is it like walking around in the trees and just like feeling the trees move, feeling the ground beneath your feet? Like, how do you find oneness of everything when there's...
By feeling centered. I feel, you know, like, meditation is often referred to as like a way of doing that. It probably is. I wouldn't know. I don't meditate. Despite sounding like somebody who would, right?
Yeah,
like,
you do actually sound like someone who does.
Yeah. No, I don't do that at all.
Maybe you should meditate.
Maybe I should.
Yeah, ascend, really become one of the universe.
See, it's crazy how I can say all that, like, fucking bullshit,
and
then I'm just like, yeah, but I don't practice anything I preach. Like, I don't do anything.
Don't tell them that. They don't know that. They think you sound smart. They think you're saying some shit, and now he's like, oh, I don't practice what I preach.
Yeah, that's that.
Maybe I'll cut that part out.
Dude, we're all hypocrites.
That is very true.
Like, I don't even know if that necessarily makes me hypocritical, because I didn't once make a claim for meditation prior to that. Because there are other ways. You don't have to meditate.
That is true.
But, you know, certainly finding a way that makes you feel grounded in whatever form that takes. A lot of people just happen to prefer meditation. Like, fam, do you? You know? Whatever works for you. Whatever makes you feel centered and grounded. Like, and when I say that, I mean, like, you know, you just really feel it. It's like your... The Good Place had a really good line for it. If you've ever seen that show. This dude says... he's like one of the main characters. He says, it's like when the air on the inside of your body is the same as on the outside of your body.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I feel like really sums up that whole, like, you know what I mean? Like, when you say, like, you know that feeling, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird.
Yeah, it's indescribable too, which is kind of weird. Yeah, because and it's like
the true essence of being. Perhaps is what I want to find.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'm saying that as if it's somehow this, like, static concept. Like, by running off into the fucking woods to, you know, fucking meditate and play mandolin, I guess. And, you know, like, have a big Gandalf pipe, and like a really long beard, so that I could be like, you know, the wizard. Yeah, like the Wizard of the Woods.
You think you would find that there?
No, but it'd be pretty cool if, like, you know, people just come in like, oh, we're gonna go see the wizard. I just fucking shoot lightning bolts out of my fingernail.
Like an actual wizard, not like a
I just start levitating and my eyes open up and there's just lightning coming out of them.
Yeah.
Just electrocute people.
Yeah.
Don't come near me. Like,
All right, here's a question. Here's a question. Here's a question on that. Then.
I'm enlightened.
Literally, like,
yeah.
um,
I'm seeking
okay.
inner peace. That's why you have to die. Like,
How do we? Okay, then. Okay, here's a question I had then. How do we avoid? Just see, you really are talking to you. So just laughing at your own jokes.
Mate, I find myself funny.
To be honest,
Never.
I do too. I find myself
Thank you.
hilarious. So
Yeah, exactly.
I found myself, and I didn't say you. I found myself hilarious.
Yeah, that's validating.
Here's the question then.
You have to find yourself anyway. Whatever. Yeah.
If we can't, how do we
Yeah.
find mental clarity if we can't avoid the external? If we can't avoid the situation. So, for example, we just talked about all this like woohoo, beautiful, finding the essence of human existence.
Yeah, but it was in the absence of other humans.
Exactly,
It was
and the absence
that
of
was
like
working.
work and like absence of
Yeah.
like taking the trains and being packed in the sardine cans,
Yeah,
like and the
yeah.
baby crying on the train. You weren't very, you weren't very, very
yeah,
peaceful then.
No.
So how
do you
do we-
become, as they say, the Buddha of suburbia?
So how do we find that? Do you think that's
But
a thing that we're just chasing that we can't reach, or do you think literally there is a zone where you can reach where you become one with everything around you in the external, where you can find inner peace even in the mix of central London with all these people walking around you?
yes, because it's not necessarily dependent on your proximity to other people. It's how you choose to perceive your interactions with those other people
Mm-hmm.
that defines those. Because for the most part, let's face it, we live in London.
Mm-hmm.
People don't fucking talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when was the last time you were approached by someone you didn't know in the wild?
Yeah.
Like, in the wilds of, like, urban London.
To be fair, it happens because I have that energy about me. So sometimes it happens. I guess, like you say that, but like when I was at peace,
Yeah.
I had that energy about me which invited that. So I think it's about that what we're talking about. If
Yeah,
you're really
yeah.
at peace, people feel like actually
Yeah.
this
That,
human
like, openness
to
other
experience and to
Yeah.
yeah. So they
Yeah.
but you're right. Like normally I don't get that at all. It doesn't happen often enough.
Perhaps it's because you're not feeling it. Because the thing is, you also have to end up catching the same, wavelength, if you want to call it that, as like someone else who also is in that same sort of like, I'm feeling open to talking to people today. Maybe like, I mean, I guess what we're describing is literally just the banality of random human interaction. But considering the fact that we live in the age that we do, those, when what people refer to as like like I guess authentic human interactions, where you just meet someone, and you just strike up a conversation and get along. In London, that doesn't happen that much. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a very stereotypical Londoner and I don't really feel like talking to people most of the time because, funnily enough, like everyone else, I have shit to do and places to be. But do you really?
Yeah, I was gonna say, truly, where do we have to be?
Like,
Where are we rushing to? Everyone's
Yeah.
just feels to me everyone's rushing to get to somewhere just to make themselves feel like they have things to do.
we're running the race, man. Like, but
We're in that rat race.
it's blinding and deafening at the same time. Like, it's horrible.
Can you learn to love that? Can you learn to
I
love,
love the rat race.
not the rat race,
Yeah.
especially because that's obviously negative
Some
connotations.
people do though.
Can you
Some
learn to
people
love?
genuinely love that race.
Is it because it's productive?
But what is productive? To them, that's what productive means. It means like, okay, like as an example, I know someone who like ran a company. They might still run that company. I honestly don't know, but like, it's so clear that that's what they're supposed to be doing. So clear. Like, I'm not a business-minded person necessarily. Despite my efforts, I seem to still be a people person. No matter how hard I try,
That's not very people person.
can't escape it.
Okay, yeah, go on.
I know, but that's the thing. I end up finding that I actually do like other people,
I love human beings,
despite
man.
myself.
Absolutely.
Like, because God, I desperately wish I did not, but I do. But also, why do I think that in the first place? And that's because we live in, this like hyperbolic echo chamber of just like rage. Like, we're just always in the rage cage, basically. It's like a fucking hornet's nest that's been set on fire and then shat on by a bear.
I love your imagery. I think it's about there's no light without darkness, right?
Yeah,
so
of
yes,
course.
that rage exists, but it
Yeah.
also creates life. It creates
No, but I mean specifically like for example, like social media, the internet, that constant exposure to things like say like news is it's overwhelmingly negative for the most part. Let's face it. And it's almost like it feels as if the world is skewed in such a way that you just do feel helpless, and like you genuinely don't matter. And like, but then that perception in itself, that I don't know if it's inherently Western. I can't say because I'm fucking Western. I try not to think like this. But that feeling of like, oh, but there must be something that I, the main character, can do. It's like, you're not the main character of shit except the shits that you take during that day.
Don't get lost in that. Please come back.
But
I can see you already getting lost in that imagery.
yeah. But grotesque imagery aside, like it's you're not actually going to do anything with your life necessarily. But like, that's not to say, oh, but then, Herder, who are you to say that? Like, I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying that in the sense of like, it's very rare that you will be aware of the consequences of the life that you led, because you have to die first, for one. And, like, for example, say I, God forbid, become a professor and like an internationally famous author or whatever I might plan to do instead. Maybe I want to be a fucking astronaut.
Wink, wink at the camera. We're good.
Yeah, jokes on everyone else. Secretly, I want to be an astronaut and a paleontologist, the first astronaut paleontologist. But like, whether or not what I do actually has any fucking impact in the grand scheme of things, first of all, no, it won't. But second of all, like, what I mean when I say such a thing is not like, that fucking, it's so irritating, like the nihilist mantra of like, everything means nothing, we're just on a rock in space. It's like, you don't say. No, anyway, what else would you like to do? Like, do you want to have KFC, perhaps? Like, things like that. Like, it's like, you don't have to say the thing that everybody already knows.
Yeah, it's like, it becomes it's almost, I think, like self-defeatist in a sense. Because it's like,
self-defeatist.
They're saying that's because they don't like their life and because they feel like life is meaningless. Yeah. But their life is meaningless. Yeah. So they kind of extract the whole life and say, like, why are you guys even trying? Yeah. Life is meaningless in a way. Yeah. And it's like, no, there's meaning in it, in this unmeaningless existence.
I disagree with you, but...
You don't think there's meaning in the I think there's meaning you can create.
I was going to say, like, inherently there is no meaning to everything. Meaning in itself is an individual process. Whether or not something actually means anything is largely down to you. The rest of it, obviously, is like... But then this goes into, like, all about social determinism, blah, blah, blah.
But then, okay, actually, let's get into that then. You say there's no meaning unless it's an individual. But the individual gets meaning from the external, though. Don't they? It fix the internal. Is it
external or is it internal?
I'm saying, like, you fix your internal, you fix your perception, you wipe your glass of view and your mirror, and then you look back out externally and you find there was meaning there the whole time. You just had a terrible view of it, which is why you couldn't see it. So there is meaning in the external. It's just you have to be able to sort it internal first before you can view the external properly.
Yeah.
But if you scope it out, like if we're thinking me and you right now here talking on this couch, it does mean in this conversation. Yeah. You scope it out to England, scope it out to Europe, scope it out to the world, scope it out to the planet Earth, then the universe.
Has no
exactly. So the more you extend your scope, there is no meaning. Yeah. But like, who's thinking on the planetary level?
Well, see, but that's the thing. Actually, I was gonna say, weirdly, that relates back into the thing we were just talking about instead, about how, like, that whole main character energy nonsense. People feel like what they do has to be, like, world changing, basically, for the most part. Like, it's very it's grotesquely selfish in the sense that it's presented in such a way that it's like, oh, I'm so humanitarian, look at me. It's like, you miss the point. Like, immediately you miss the point, because you weren't doing it for necessarily anything. And like, you know, that's not to say that you can't be proud of yourself, because a lot of people misconstrue that to suddenly mean like, okay, but I can't take pride in anything I do. Like, yes, you absolutely fucking can. 100% be proud of what you do. You should be proud of what you do, especially if you do something that you feel warrants pride.
But don't talk about it more than you do it. Just do it.
Yeah and no. Like it's also more on the basis of like, you're not doing it because it's like the thing that you dream of, at which point you probably would just talk about it all the time anyway. But you're doing it because it's a vanity show. You know, it's like, oh, look at me, I did this, I'm the fucking best, like, bleh. Like, it's almost like main character energy essentially can be boiled down to just people who lack humility. But as ever, the internet makes everything a little bit more dumbed down.
Yeah, no nuance. Here's a question.
Yes,
here's a question.
No nuance.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
We understand we're contradictions. We're all walking contradictions of ourselves. How do we still live a life where we can be and still become? And what I mean by that is like we go through life. For example, this year, and this episode is basically just to kind of run through over what we've kind of learned this year, some of the things that we can be thinking about, and just kind of like, how do we still, over the course of our life, find a balance between knowing that we have to become and knowing that we have to keep doing stuff and keep improving and keep going to new levels, but still understand that we are just human beings in the moment, you know?
Yeah.
How do we balance that out?
That's quite a question, Jeff.
Do you want to take a vape break?
No, I don't want to take a vape break. I was looking for my vape. But
Okay.
I have this vape, so it doesn't matter. How do we be and become? How do we be now and do and still do both? How do you still be yourself? How do I exist now, but also exist in the future?
Without falling into contradictions about what you want, about who you are.
I see. Well, first of all, that almost comes. I know that's not what you're saying, but the way that it can be interpreted is quite a lot in the way of like, you know, how the internet seems to perceive a lot of things. Where it's in that very, you know, two-tone, like, it's either it is or it isn't. Like, it's almost like everything in life is a binary. It's like we were saying earlier, like, like we're basically desperate not to be labeled or, you know, boxed into anything. We don't want to be pigeonholed, but all we want to do is pigeonhole and label ourselves.
And other people.
You know, someone can be like Jesus Christ himself one day, but then he says one thing, or had said one thing like 20 years ago.
And he's always done.
Yeah, and he's done. But it's like, do people not realize how rapidly humans change? Like, it's like, you don't believe that these people have changed? Like, it's not that they shouldn't necessarily, like, should they perhaps apologize for something? Perhaps, yes. Sure. But unless it's like something really, really evil, you know, obviously, but see that even that, like, I have to constantly declare the other side of it, because otherwise people are going to take that as a blanket statement. And it's like, it's not that it's a blanket statement. It's like,
I mean, hopefully my viewers are smart enough to know that, like, when we say things on this channel, we're not saying the other side doesn't matter. We're just exploring. Yeah,
the educated Jeff heads.
You know, you know, I got you.
Yeah,
but you know, like, I feel like, there's no, you can't have a conversation if you always have to talk about the other side. I mean, there's 2 points of views here. That's the other side. But if there's always like, okay, by the way, you can't, like, this person, this, it's like, we understand that. They, like, you know, that's a larger conversation. But we can't just, you know, in every sentence we say, think about that.
I know.
But
it's ridiculous that I feel the need to constantly do that as well, if you really think about it. But, like, it's that side of, like, I don't want to come across like I'm not entertaining the other side of things, because it's like, I desperately want to entertain every side that I can possibly conceive of, if I can.
But that's not a conversation.
That's not really.
Here's a question.
Where's the need for a conversation at all? I already have every side.
Here's the question.
Like, the fuck?
You mentioned something interesting about change.
Yeah.
Bring it to the personal. What's something you've learned this year? What's something over the course of the year, a change in you, or something that you've seen that, like, one thing that you've learned over the course of the year that you didn't know previously?
Oh. I think it would be that I've grown to understand the difference between trying to make myself comfortable is maybe not the right word, but like accepting of the idea that I'm going to die, and that's fine. But experiencing it from the opposite perspective is very difficult to come to terms with instead, because it's like I literally live in my head, you know. I understand that the world without me won't really change at all. But now I'm understanding that, like, when it's not you, your world is changed. I just didn't realize that before. Like, you know, but that's also just the way of things.
How did you come through that, to the other side of that, and kind of like, maybe not understand totally, but have some sort of peace of mind with that?
You kind of just have to accept it, is the thing. Like, I can live in resistance, you know, to this till the day it fucking happens. Even years afterwards if I really wanted to. But I wouldn't get anything out of it. I would just be living in resistance to the idea that, you know, not only, yes, am I going to die, but also so are the people around me. And, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, first of all, yeah, that's a completely no shit statement, obviously.
But when you feel it, it's different.
Yeah, when you feel it, like, when you're experiencing it, completely different ball game.
I also think it probably teaches you to love the moment even more.
Yeah, of course. Like, it's interesting because I'm constantly stuck between trying to, you know, account for the future in my present, that I ironically completely lose sight of my present sometimes. And it's really fucking hard because it's like, how do I balance both, you know? Like,
being and becoming, bro. Being and becoming.
Yeah.
That's kind of what that question was, I think. It was more like, because I've had that's been what I've learned this year, the struggle of being and becoming, because those goals that I wanted for this year, the start of this year, things I wanted to achieve, but I knew that would make me change as a person. And so I had to come to terms with the fact that I had to surrender myself to the change, let go of the control that I wanted to have over my life in terms of every little thing. I want to be this kind of person.
Yeah.
Allow myself to go through experiences and then almost retrospectively think about them instead of thinking about them beforehand. And that kind of balancing, especially for someone like me who wanted control, who was like, okay, I got to control my life so I know where it's going, had to let go of that and just fall into the aspect of both being and becoming. Like, take that end from it. Like, make that a singular purpose. It's like both of it happens at once. You are who you are today, but you are who you'll be tomorrow. The time doesn't matter, you know? Yeah. And so, like, just that balancing was difficult for me, and I'm not reached the end of that, but it's a journey which is, like, super cool.
Yeah.
It's a journey which is, like, super cool, which is, like, super interesting for me.
Yeah.
In that you mentioned also, I wanted to ask you, how have you learned to do what you love, or like become the person that you love? Well, become the person that does what they like, in spite of the duty that we have to our parents. I asked that because I had to realize that this year, that the aspect of like trying to achieve something and wanting to achieve something, like growing up, that was so important. Like, it was always like, you have to do this. And that created the person you see before you today. So that was a good part. But that responsibility, that duty, at some point in my life became a crutch. Became like, well, when do I let that go and just really pursue what I want? You know?
Yeah.
And like, I'm slowly come to terms with that. And I know you can relate too, so I'm asking your question. How have you kind of balanced that, and are you still struggling with that?
Yeah, I mean, I do struggle with that still, realistically. I mean, it's, you know, like, my parents never really had, like, a set path for me, if you could really call it that. They hadn't really decided anything for me. You know, at 5 years old, I wanted to be a marine biologist. At 7, I wanted to be an archaeologist.
You need to be a marine biologist at 5?
Yeah, dude, I was obsessed with like sharks. I mean, I knew what I wanted to specialize in. I wanted to specialize in sharks.
You didn't want to be like a firefighter?
No, I never wanted to be a firefighter. For me, it was always like I either want to be like an architect, a paleontologist, like a marine biologist. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon until I was like 15. But then all that happened.
Yeah.
And then I doubled back and randomly rediscovered my love of like storytelling, because it was something I'd always enjoyed as a kid. But would I say that I necessarily know what I have in terms of like a duty to my parents? I don't know. I mean, as long as I make something of my life, am I not fulfilling that duty? Like, I wonder that a lot. Like, is my want... Because I guess I've always wanted something to do with academia as a whole, really. Ironically, I just eventually fell back on wanting to be a professor. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
like is it almost too specific? Like they want something for you just because they think that's the level of success that they would want you to reach. But if you just reach anywhere that is successful, then
my parents would be happy with, as long as I got a job I didn't fucking hate. As long as I got a job I didn't hate. But in my mind, because I've drummed it up to be, it's literally been my dream for years. My dreams have been some of the heaviest, most important crutches of my whole life. Up until quite recently, really. They were the bulk of the reason that I was even still really alive. And obviously that puts so much pressure,
I was going to say,
on myself to succeed and whatever else you want to call it. But at the same time, I just basically have to live up to this image I have in my head, because at the end of the day, I'm not really asking myself to do anything else. I'm just asking myself to write what I want to write and get my doctorate. And, obviously then eventually also get a job as a lecturer.
But don't you feel that chase, because we've talked about this today, also, destination doesn't matter, it's the journey. And so to always be destination, I call it destination addiction. To be always addicted to a next destination. Like, I get it, in the moment you have to be. I'm that kind of person too.
Because to me, the destination defines the journey.
How so?
Well, the journey can be awful, full of strife and struggle every step of the way. To the point where you very actively question, what the hell am I even still doing? But then you get where you want to be. When you're there, if you can look back and go, yeah, this is what all of what I did led up to this achievement. Bro, you achieved it. You did it. It might not necessarily fill that hole in your life you thought that would be filled by it, necessarily. Because I don't necessarily think that getting my PhD will somehow magically fix every problem I have with my life personally. Not at all. It's just a piece of the puzzle for me.
Has the destination for you been more refined over the years?
No, the thing is, right, when I say that I've got this destination, this destination very well might be achieved before I'm 30. Where the hell do I go from there? That's when the fun really begins. That's when my life begins. Everything I'm doing, fam, I'm still using the fucking training wheels. I don't know how to ride the bike yet.
But don't you think that's destructive?
No.
Wait until...
Because I'm not waiting. I mean, the way that I look at it is I've grown so much between when I wanted to, when I realized I wanted to be a professor at 16 to now. I'm 24. I'm nearly a decade ahead. But I potentially might be in my PhD next year. After that, it's 3 years. And, I'm... Maybe it sounds egotistical of me, but quite literally, I've been at uni for 4 years training to do my PhD. That's all it was. It was just the training wheels to do the PhD, which is just more training wheels. And then once that's done, I have my doctorate. I can do whatever the hell I want with the rest of my life.
But that's what I mean, though. It's let me rephrase the question then. I think because I wrote about this recently. It was an appointment of mine, and I was talking about. I was like, well, I know I'm going to get there, but what would happen? What would happen to the days that I keep on sacrificing to get there? What happened to the relationship that I keep on sacrificing to get there? You know, I'll look back, and I've talked to you about this too. Looking back and being like, these moments of clarity, these moments of present moment right now, they're being sacrificed for that future. But that future will only want now. You know, like,
but that sets a negative connotation on it. It's as if you're making out like, I have to sacrifice these things for my dream. Like, you're not sacrificing anything. You're committed to the dream. That's what I perceive to be. It's all perception.
Stranger perspective, yeah.
You know, because it's like, I never thought to myself like, oh, you know, getting my doctorate and being in a fulfilling relationship are necessarily mutually exclusive things. They ain't, as it turned out. Not that I necessarily thought that in the first place. Like, getting my doctorate, I don't necessarily perceive as like, you know, the be all and end all of my whole life, but definitely like, yeah, I want a doctorate because it signifies, if nothing else, how much I care about what I want to do. Like, you know, how do I prove to people that I give that much of a shit about writing? Fam, I have a doctorate in it. I might, you know, if everything goes well. But
see,
like,
here's the question I have then, and a question I've been thinking.
For me, it's just proving that I love something that much, and then afterwards, God knows what I'll do.
But proving to who? You already know it.
And well, yeah, but it's not. I know it, but I'm doing it for me. Like, because it's like, it's something that I can definitively look at and say, of course, this is my life. I cared enough to get a doctorate in it. Like, of course this is what I want to do with my life. Is that even a question? I have a piece of paper that says I can read. Like, fam.
That's the funniest thing. But the reason, and I know how much you care, and I'm not questioning that. I'm only bringing up because I have the feeling I'm having too, and maybe it's a personal reflection of my own.
The thing is, I know myself quite well, right? I'll doubt myself. I'll doubt myself every step of the fucking way. Down the line, when, you know, like, when the proverbial shit hits the fan, in whatever form that chooses to take, you know, you never know. Could literally be such a thing. That'd be funny.
Not for the people in the room.
Not for me if I'm in the room. But better hope I have an umbrella. But, like, it's so that when I'm in those moments of self-doubt, when I'm at like my really low points in the future, because there's gonna be low points, I'm not that stupid.
Absolutely, yeah.
Life is hard, man. It's fun most of the time,
yeah.
But when it's not fun, family, that shit's hard. That shit is hard. But you know, when I'm at my lowest moments, I can look at my PhD wherever it is, probably in some dusty corner being eaten by moths. And I'm like, shit, yeah, of course I should be doing this. I got a PhD in it, for God's sake.
I don't think it will even be the paper.
Of course I care about this.
I think it will be the experience that you went through those 4 years, like teaching,
because
fear, all of that shit.
It's just a piece of paper until it actually means something.
Yeah.
It's the things associated.
The things you do to earn that piece of paper, that's what matters,
like,
yeah.
It's the commitment to how much I care about expressing really what is just my obsession with the things that I think about, but also like, because, you know, even if, like, for example, if I wrote a paper when I finished my doctorate about Berserk, Kentaro Miura's dead. He's never going to read that shit, and he probably wouldn't care anyway. But it's not necessarily for him. It's because I want to say how much I love his work. If he happens to see it, dope, I guess. I'd love that he knew that I love his work. He unfortunately won't. But the way that I can still respect his memory in my mind as a fellow person who wants to write something, and because he was one of my biggest inspirations, you know, just having the ability to put that out there and have it actually be recognized by, you know, the academic world as like, shit, this guy's saying something, like, or whatever, you know, it would mean something to me, because it's like, I think that this work is amazing to the point where I have a doctorate so that I know what I'm talking about, and you can't tell me I don't, because that piece of paper says I can indeed read a book. So, you know, I read this book and I think it's pretty cool.
Hearing you talk is fascinating too, because it's almost like, and I want to get your thoughts on this, it's almost like our dreams that we have become destiny. And I think we've talked about this before, how like
dreams is
destiny, bro.
Dreams is destiny, man.
Go on that. What do you think about that statement? That dreams that we have become our destiny, and we kind of, because of the actions that we take, we're on a railroad to that end, no matter where we kind of think we're gonna end
The
up.
thing is, I had a personal rule of like I would never get a phrase tattooed on me, never ever. I would debate doing that.
Dreams is destiny, bro.
Yeah, if you gave me £1 million, I indeed would in fact put dreams is destiny
On your forehead.
on my forehead, mate.
You have
on
£1
my
million.
forehead.
Who gives a shit? Like, I could just do what the fuck I want at that point.
Exactly. Like, yeah, then I could self-publish my book.
Actually.
Yeah.
And if like,
Dreams is
you wear a
destiny.
bandana the whole
Yeah.
time.
And then if they ever ask, I'll just be like, mate, what does it say?
What does it say on my
Like, what does
forehead?
it say?
That's why, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
But what do you think that means?
Also,
What do
your fed big fat L, bro. Big fat L. Big fat L on your forehead.
what do you
like-
think dreams is destiny means? Practically for us.
Practically,
For the viewers at
it's-
home.
it literally is synonymous in my mind with practice what you preach. Like, you know, I've been saying for years. Like, the first thing I ever said to one of my professors in my first year of uni, like, first day of class, I went straight up to the fucking poor bastard and I was like, I want to be a professor. What do I have to do? And he was like, finish your undergrad. And I was kind of like, okay, I guess that's not the answer.
That was
I
a
wanted.
canon moment
Yeah.
right there.
I came away from it and I was kind of like, that makes me mad.
Mm.
But, like, fine, whatever. Like, he doesn't take me seriously. Like, I came away from not thinking, like, oh, screw this guy. Like, he doesn't take me seriously. I was 19. Of course he wasn't going to take me seriously. For God's sake. It was the first day of class. Like, ugh, cringe. But that's how serious I was about it. To the point where, like, I mean, dude, I'm potentially about to do my PhD. Like, now they do take me seriously when I tell them I want to be a lecturer. I want to be a professor.
100%.
I want to talk about these things.
100%.
Like, of course they weren't going to take me seriously back then. Yeah, maybe I did know what I wanted to do. No one has ever debated that with me. It's the one thing I can't seem to shut up about. But, like, you know, I realize the importance of giving people a reason to take what you say literally, or at least seriously enough to properly entertain. And what says, hey, I might know some shit, like having a doctorate. Like, yeah, okay, I'm sure people with their, like, you know, theoretical physics doctorates are probably going to look at me with my, hopefully, creative
Liberal arts.
writing doctorate. Yeah, my creative writing doctorate. And they'll kind of be like, so you got a doctorate learning how to read? And I'd be like, yes, I did.
In defense of liberal
Yes,
arts
I did.
and creative writing is more than just learning how to read.
Yeah. They got a fucking PhD in learning how to count numbers that might not actually exist.
Yeah.
So, what's the difference, mate? Really? I'm sure people who are theoretical physicists will be hunting me down now. You know,
Putting
by,
hate
like,
comments in my
Yeah.
my
no,
comment.
dude, they wouldn't do that. They would look, Jeff. If I was a theoretical physicist,
What
I'm
would you
gonna
do?
speak for them now.
Yeah.
If someone was shit talking me with their
Yeah.
uneducated ass opinion,
Yeah.
you know, some filthy creative writer thinking that they
the
knew what I
Crenton.
did, the genius of my degree,
Yeah.
I would simply learn their coordinates exactly,
Yeah.
and then I would shoot a giant stick into space,
Yeah.
but not so far that it just goes into space, just far enough that it goes up into the stratosphere
Mm-hmm.
and then shoots back down, because it would move almost as fast as the speed of light,
Mm-hmm.
and it would strike those coordinates with the force that is stronger than the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs.
I don't think that's possible.
What was that thing called? Chicxulub? No, it's real. That's actually
No, the stick
a
story.
thing.
I don't
No,
think
that's a thing that you can do. Yeah, all you need.
theoretically.
No, not theoretically. Well, yes, theoretically, because we haven't done it yet.
Well, then that means it hasn't happened. Then.
Jeff, yeah, because it would literally have wiped out all of England at once.
So
with
it can't.
The shockwave that it
So
created.
by definition, it's not possible.
That's not necessarily true. It is possible. We just haven't done it yet.
Okay,
For
possibility.
a good reason, because if we did do it, there would be no going back.
That's true.
And an enormous part of the Earth would be borderline uninhabitable, if not just completely destroyed, because of that one test.
Okay.
Although then again, they literally did think that was going to happen with the nuke the first time.
Yeah. Okay. To answer the question. To answer the question about dreams is destiny.
Yeah.
I think it's about knowing. I think once you figure out what you want to do in your life, once you
Destiny
know what
is
you
just
want,
self-belief.
it's self-fulfilling prophecies almost. Yes, self-belief, but also you kind of have to act it out. Because if you don't, if you just believe you're going to do something, but you don't put in the action, nothing
It's the same as
nothing
saying,
changes.
like, it feels like I was put on this earth to do this.
Yes.
Like, that's just because you've manifested your dream. Really, you've manifested your dream so much that it literally became you and you became it.
But the action is the most important part of that, though, right? Like,
Yeah,
you can manifest
it's
in your
getting
head.
there. Yeah, it's the getting there that really
It's the
matters.
getting there that makes it a destiny. You know what I mean? Like, so you can have dreams, and I think,
Yeah, because otherwise you wouldn't have taken the necessary steps.
Yeah.
This is the same argument as the chicken and the egg,
yeah,
just like brought into like cosmological
yeah,
levels, Jeff.
destiny is dream.
Yeah, destiny is dream,
The-
Jeff.
But no, I think there's an aspect of like human beings that we don't understand. There's definitely a layer of like dimension that deals with stuff like that, deals with the cosmological and deals with the beliefs of people and manifestations. I don't believe in crystals and any of that stuff, or like star signs, any of that stuff. But
Yeah,
I
I
think,
know a lot of people like that.
but I think there is definitely an element of like, if you believe something, and I think belief is a very powerful, potent entity we have in this world that exists
Yeah.
between both worlds. If you
It's
believe
the same
something,
as hoping, really. Like the notion that we can hope for a better tomorrow is, generally speaking, what helps a lot of people get out of bed. And it's not even just that, it's also what incentivizes positive change to take place. Like, if you couldn't hope for anything better, quite simply, you wouldn't. Because you wouldn't have the capacity to hope for more. If you get me. Like, you know, it's why we believe that we can still make a change through, like, modern political aspects and, like, you know, capitalistic endeavors and things like that. It's because we genuinely still believe that there is hope. Like, you know, I don't really think that the way that capitalism has organized itself currently is the solution, but I do think that there is a solution within capitalism. Like, we just haven't quite figured it out yet.
Here's a question then.
But also, the Industrial Revolution only happened 200 years ago. It's like, bro, relax.
Yeah.
Like, we've done some crazy shit.
And we've taken so many people out of poverty and
barely
stuff like
any
that.
time. Yeah, like in a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the time that, like, you know, life has existed on Earth, we've altered the Earth so much, completely in our own vision, within the time that we evolved to live on it. Like, we've done some really amazing things.
We went to the moon, bro. It's
Yeah,
crazy shit.
But, you know, like, the way that the world sort of ticks along these days based on outrage culture and things like that, and helplessness, that like the international trade of basically just helplessness on a massive scale is completely taken from the fact that it's easy to despair. It's easy to despair, and it's easy to be really fucking angry. And that's literally what social media, for example,
Yeah, and it
capitalizes
creates
on.
a lot of people, like we were talking about before, it creates a lot of pessimists who, like, they want to self-actualize their pessimism by making you believe that the world is actually heading in a terrible direction, that everything is to shit, and why don't you believe that? And I want to push back
dude,
against
where the hell
that.
do you think incels came from?
I think, I mean, it's both incels. I mean, on one side is the incels, and then I think the other side, it's not even, I don't know what the equivalent to incels would be, but like the other side too exists too. But like there is a wild growing people who are being pessimists, who are being, you know, victims.
Yeah.
And I think that especially in our generation, but I think we have to push against that, because the world, like you said, is dependent on the hope of tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you hope for a better future, you can bring it to fruition.
Yeah.
But if you just say this despair and this, you know, everything's going to shit, then that's the world that you will bring to pass. I don't live in that
The
world.
thing is, we used to talk about this quite a lot back when we first met, about how you know, like, it's easy to feel helpless and angry and like nothing is really going anyway, things like that, right? But it takes actual effort a lot of the time to feel any sense of positivity towards, like, I mean, really, life in general these days. To the point where, like, you know, the positive people are almost ridiculed, hilariously so. But, like, if you actually think about it, the people who have the ability to seriously, genuinely believe in a better tomorrow probably have a hell of a lot more going for them.
Absolutely, they're much happier.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also, paradoxically, the people who hate on them, they hate on them as a shit test.
Yeah.
Like, they want to see if that happiness is real.
If it's a facade.
If it's a facade, because they want to believe in it, but they don't know if they're making that jump.
But
will
like,
also.
how sad is that?
Yeah, I know.
Like, man, I mean, I say that, and again, we were just talking about this, the whole hypocrisy of it all. But like, I'm a miserable bitch.
Sorry.
That's the irony of it all.
Yeah.
Is that like I can preach about all of this, like, yeah, man, you know, like, love thy neighbor, or whatever,
Love thyself.
whatever,
Let's transcend.
Right? But like, secretly, I'm like, if a meteor hit the Earth tomorrow, I'd be glad.
Yeah.
Not really.
But I know
obviously,
that's the
not-
difference.
but yeah,
The difference
that's the
is
paradox of
yeah,
it. Not
exactly.
really,
You're existing in
actually.
the honesty of the paradox. You're being honest about the contradiction that you have within
Yeah.
yourself. That sometimes
Yeah.
you're not happy, but sometimes you see positively. Like overall, you're a positive person. You have
Yeah.
a positive view of the world.
Yeah,
which
I
is
try to.
why.
I try
Which
to.
is why it's important.
Yeah.
But there are people who are genuinely. There are people who are genuinely like
Yeah.
feel
Sorry,
like
that was just my pet anaconda. Yeah. Like,
there are people who are genuinely like pessimistic. Okay, look, to bring this to a close because I know we got somewhere to be. On the topic of change and the topic of positive and hope, what do you hope for in the next year?
in the next year.
Yes. What do you hope for 2024? Take a second to think about it. And
I hope
go on.
that I have at least half of a manuscript drafted. I feel like that's a realistic ask. Of myself, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Of life itself, I don't know, man. Just please be gentle next time. Like, that's all I'm asking of life itself. Just you know, give me some warning next time.
Yeah.
Because I really wasn't prepared last time. I
Yeah.
thought we were cool.
Yeah.
Like, I
And then you
thought
just-
that we were chill.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, like, I can understand.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
You know.
But like, talk about your feelings, life.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm
like
sorry
open
it
up to
happened,
me.
I guess.
Yeah.
But like, I get it. You know, like, that's fine. I get it. You had to let me think that maybe it was really fine,
Mm-hmm.
just for the satisfaction of seeing me fall on my ass again.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, whatever. You know, I'm willing to let bygones be bygones. I
Let's
guess.
start again. Let's start again.
Yeah.
New year, new life.
Yeah. But hopefully, new year, new life. And if not, like, well, do you know what? I'm trying my best. So like, whatever. As long as by the end of next year, I can sit back and be like, yeah, I'm still doing my best. Like, whatever, man. What else can I ask for?
100%.
Like-
I think to answer the question myself too, I hope for the next year that I can achieve more. And it's always weird how we're like, well, our hopes and dreams are for achievement and productivity, but it is what it is in the time of life that we are in. But I do hope for more openness. I do hope to more experience, to achieve more,
Yeah.
to be more myself. I mean, there are still things that I deal with today,
Yeah.
sitting here, and that I know the next year that I would have found answers for. So I hope just to continue on that journey and just to find.
Ooh, I hope I take up rock climbing as well. That would be cool.
You will take up rock climbing.
I will.
That's
Okay,
the
fine.
difference.
I will do then.
You know what I mean? You can hope for like
I will
superficial
take it
stuff.
up. I hope that I'm still doing it by the end of next year.
Okay, cool.
That's
You know you've said that on
more
camera
fair.
now, so now you have to.
That's fine. Yeah.
This is the
knows?
new
Who knows?
era.
Yeah.
The new
Yeah.
era is if you say on camera,
Yeah.
you have to live that life.
Well, look, yeah, fellow rock climbers. If I'm one of you by the
Yeah.
end of next year,
Yeah.
cool. If
I have the same thing
well,
too.
You know what? I lied.
And to
I'm not
match
going to
your
apologize for it.
no. To match your conviction, I hope I'm performing live poetry by the end of next year.
Ooh, yeah, that would be sick.
That'd be cool as-
Yeah,
that'd be cool
yeah,
as
that
fuck,
would
yeah.
be sick. Yeah, you
Yeah.
should do that.
Yeah, you should go to rock climb. I want to see that too.
Yeah,
We
You
go
see me
together.
scale a tree like an ape.
Just
yeah.
be like, yo, what the fuck?
Yeah,
You just like
exactly,
just climbing here.
Exactly. I won't even be wearing shoes.
You just
like,
no hands even.
Yeah.
Just like
yeah, all feet.
all feet
All feet and teeth.
and
yeah,
neck.
yeah.
Just like
Yeah. Just wrap my neck around the tree, like, you know, just stretches out like Luffy.
and then just
yeah.
just keep just
Yeah.
put,
I'll just
spin
legit like
yourself up.
launch my head at the top of the tree,
Yeah.
like with my rubber neck.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
no, thank you so much for doing this. It's been a again fantastic, fascinating conversation.
Yeah, man. Sorry for wasting like an hour of everyone's time.
Why
Joke's
did you
on
no more? We just talked about this.
You should put this
This
at the beginning
negative.
of the episode. man. Yeah, joke's on you, man. You wasted an hour listening to this bullshit.
No, I can't
You're
do that
welcome.
because I have to watch it. I want them to watch it. I want you guys to watch it. Thanks for being here. If you made it this
yeah.
far into the episode, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
If you watch it, joke's on you.
Jokes
But,
are.
you know,
See, this is what we
yeah.
talked about the pessimists. They always
What do you mean
some.
pessimism?
They always come
How
out
is that
somewhere.
pessimism?
It is
How is that
pessimism.
pessim-
It's self defeat. It's
How?
pessimism.
That's not self-defeat.
It's not. It's definitely not like. It's not the opposite.
Okay, fine. You know what? Yeah,
It's
if
not
you vibe
positive.
with this episode, sick.
Yes.
If you didn't vibe with this
There's
episode,
no need for that second
I'm sorry
part.
for wasting your time. But do you know what? Not really, because you spent an hour on this thinking that I would have said something interesting. You were wrong. Go ahead.
And so to end
That's
it
not
there,
pessimistic. Come on, man.
to end it
That's
there,
not
that is
pessimistic.
pessimistic. I don't know what you know about it. To
Bro.
end it there, thank you so much for taking time to watch this. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
balance out that negative energy.
Yeah.
Cut that
What he
negative.
means is thanks for the money.
Thanks.
Like,
we don't get
yeah.
money. We did, like it's just doing for fun.
I'm not getting paid for this.
No. I'm not getting paid for this. That's the shock that I had yesterday.
Bro,
Before
I
you
don't
get-
want to talk to you again.
before you get
I
paid
don't
for
wanna
this.
talk to you again.
See, thanks for
Like,
your time and
fam.
your waste of time.
fam.
Thank you
I
so
lost
much.
an hour on this actually.
Thank you so
Like,
much,
shit.
guys.
I'm the real victim here.
Have a
man.
great year. And I'll
Yeah.
see you on the next one. Peace.